Things have been very busy behind the scenes with the Seattle Seahawks, and recent developments could completely shift how fans view one of the team's major storylines right now. At first glance, there might seem to be cause for concern, but a closer look at what is actually happening in practice puts the situation in a new light. There are also encouraging updates regarding the return of key players to the field, which could have a significant impact moving forward. Details that have emerged in recent days raise plenty of questions, and some of the most anticipated answers may be closer than expected. Let's take a look at everything you need to know. But before I tell you, make sure to hit the like button and write "Go Seahawks" in the comments. The biggest development surrounding the Seattle Seahawks right now is not panic, uncertainty, or frustration. Instead, everything happening around Devon Witherspoon points toward confidence inside the organization, even though his contract extension has not been officially completed yet. That has naturally created discussion among fans, because whenever one of the team's biggest young stars is still waiting for a new deal, questions are always going to appear. But what has actually happened during training camp paints a much different picture than the concern some people may feel at first glance. The most important detail is simple. Devon Witherspoon has been at training camp. He has been on the field. He has been participating in drills. He has been working alongside his teammates with a smile on his face, showing no visible frustration and no indication that the contract situation has become a distraction. That alone says a lot about where both sides appear to stand. Instead of creating headlines through absence, he has continued preparing for the season exactly as expected. And that has become one of the strongest signs that everyone involved believes an agreement will eventually be reached. Naturally, the contract became one of the first questions directed toward head coach Mike Macdonald. While he made it clear that negotiations belong more on John Schneider's side of the organization than his own, his response carried a level of confidence that immediately stood out. Rather than sounding uncertain or avoiding the topic altogether, he emphasized how much confidence he has in the entire process, in the people handling the negotiations, and in the way the organization conducts business. Those comments may not reveal specific numbers or timelines, but they reveal something equally significant. There is no indication from the coaching staff that this situation is creating concern behind the scenes. That confidence is difficult to ignore because it comes while Witherspoon continues taking part in football activities instead of separating himself from the team. Every practice he participates in reinforces the idea that everyone expects this process to end positively. There has been no visible change in his attitude, no reduction in his effort during drills, and no signs that football has taken a back seat while negotiations continue. Everything about his approach suggests that preparing for the season remains the priority. Because of those developments, there is growing belief that the wait may not last much longer. Nothing official has been announced, and there is no confirmed date for an agreement. But the overall feeling surrounding the situation continues moving in one direction. The optimism coming from inside the building has become impossible to overlook. Every passing day in which Witherspoon practices normally only strengthens the impression that both sides remain comfortable with where discussions stand. Financial expectations have also become part of the conversation. Reports referenced in the discussion indicate that Seattle previously presented an offer averaging around $30 million per year, while Christian Gonzalez reportedly received an offer around $31 million annually. According to those reports, both players turned those offers down. Because of that, expectations have shifted toward an eventual agreement, potentially landing somewhere above those earlier figures. While no final number has been confirmed, the expectation is that the market could settle at an even higher annual value once negotiations are complete. Until that signature arrives, however, every figure remains part of the discussion rather than an official outcome. What stands out even more than the numbers is how highly Witherspoon continues to be viewed. Throughout the conversation surrounding his contract, the focus repeatedly returns to the kind of player he has proven himself to be and the way he approaches his work every day. The confidence surrounding a future extension is not built only on financial expectations. It is also built on the belief that he consistently does things the right way, both on and off the field. That reputation has become another reason why there appears to be little anxiety inside the organization despite the contract still being unfinished. Once this situation reaches its conclusion, attention is expected to shift elsewhere, particularly toward Leonard Williams. But before any focus changes, the priority remains getting Witherspoon's extension finalized. The sooner that happens, the sooner another important piece of business can receive full attention. For now, though, every update continues pointing toward patience rather than urgency. Another encouraging storyline emerging from training camp involves Torrey Horton. Last season's injury prevented fans from seeing what he could fully contribute alongside Rashid Shaheed, making this year's return one of the more closely watched developments. The positive news began before practice even started, because Horton was not placed on the physically unable to perform list. That immediately allowed him to take the field and begin participating in training camp activities instead of watching from the sidelines. Although reports indicated that his work during full 11-on-11 periods was either limited or very minimal, that has not been treated as a negative development. Instead, the emphasis has remained on the long-term picture. There is little reason to rush additional workload during July if the ultimate objective is having Horton healthy later in the season when games carry much greater importance. Patience now could become far more valuable months from today. Perhaps the most encouraging observations came from the available practice footage. Horton appeared to move fluidly while running routes, changing direction, stopping, starting, and making cuts without obvious hesitation. Considering that his previous issues involved his shin and groin, seeing those movements look natural represents a very encouraging step forward. Rather than showing visible limitations, he appeared comfortable throughout the work he was able to perform. That progress becomes even more meaningful because of what he previously demonstrated whenever opportunities came his way. Even if the total number of receptions did not always jump off the page, the production generated from those catches certainly did. The ability to create significant yardage and find different ways to reach the end zone made him an exciting player whenever the football found him. Every positive update regarding his recovery therefore carries additional importance because the coaching staff now has another weapon continuing his path back toward full availability. Seeing Horton back on the practice field alongside Rashid Shaheed represents another encouraging step, especially after missing organized team activities and mandatory minicamp. Rather than focusing on what he missed earlier in the offseason, attention has shifted toward making sure he is ready when the regular season arrives. That has become the far more important objective, and early indications suggest things are moving in a positive direction. Witherspoon's contract situation continues attracting headlines because of its importance. But the early training camp developments surrounding both him and Horton have given Seahawks supporters reasons to remain optimistic. One player continues practicing while waiting for what appears to be an increasingly likely contract extension, while another continues working his way back after an injury that interrupted last season. Neither storyline has reached its final chapter yet, but both have produced encouraging signs that could become increasingly significant as training camp continues. What do you think about everything happening with Devon Witherspoon's contract situation and Torrey Horton's return to the practice field? Do these latest developments make you feel more confident about where the Seahawks are heading? If you enjoyed today's update, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest Seahawks news. We're covering every major development throughout training camp and beyond, so turn on your notifications and stay with us for all the updates as they happen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.